Is this the end? Is tonight the end of the process and this Sixers season? We're going to preview game 5 in New York, Madison Square Garden, Sixers versus Knicks. Sean Barnard, Fox Gambler, joining us here momentarily. Obviously, more Eagles draft recap, Phillies, anything else on the agenda. We're live, taking your thoughts and opinions on everything, and with the great Sean Barnard, live in 60 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We're live. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill. Wherever you're watching, hit those like, share, subscribe, follow, retweet buttons. Wherever you are, do whatever you can to get everybody into the program, into the conversation as we dive again more into the NFL draft, more into the Phillies. But of course, we are going to talk our Philadelphia 76ers as well today. But it's very important that we get everybody liking, sharing, subscribing, continuing to grow Trending in the AM, the number one morning show in Philadelphia, the first daily YouTube sports show. And we are brought to you here at Trending in the AM on Edge of Philly Sports by SherryTickets.com. Great moments don't just happen, they happen with you in the crowd. SherryTickets.com is easy to use, no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Pay less, play more. SherryTickets.com. Use promo code EOP10 at checkout. Get you 10% off your purchase with no hidden fees. Call them if you need a personal touch, 610-494-5050. SherryTickets.com has great theater, concert tickets, along with all the sporting events that you need to get to. Again, EOP10. Get you 10% off at checkout. SherryTickets.com. Guys, I'm your host, Phil Stiefel. Every single morning, you can find me on social media platforms at Beard and Knowledge. And I'm going to ask a very simple question. Is tonight the end? Not just of the Sixers season, but the process. That is what we are asking to start the show. We are going to dive into the Eagles a little bit more with the draft. Nick Wright and his idiotic, asinine comments. We do have Sean Barnard joining us here in about 10 minutes to talk Sixers, Knicks, Game 5. Do they have a chance? Is there even a remote possibility that the Sixers win tonight? I don't know. And I don't know if I care. Because if they don't lose tonight, they're just going to lose another. Like, the Sixers, the process, the era, it is coming to an end. I'm going to get to a lot of comments, but I see Brandon chiming in. The process has been over for years. I know, but I'm a sucker, Brandon. I'm a sucker. No problem admitting that I am a sucker. Okay. Every year, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. And I'm in. I was back in. I bought back in again this year. And it is what it is. And here we are, right back to square one. Yeah. What's up, TMZ? How you doing this morning? Core 12, everybody. Eric in right from the get-go this morning. How are you? I'm not calling them out, but it's disappointing. You have a lot of Knicks fans. I've never seen it. Yeah, the Knicks fans in Philly were frustrating and beat it mad at fans. We're going to talk about that, and I think that's something interesting. Embiid disappointed in the Sixers fans, and agree or disagree with what Joel Embiid said. The disappointment in so many Knicks fans at the Wells Fargo Center. We hate it when our athletes aren't honest, and we hate it when they are honest. You can't have it both ways. So anybody mad at Joel Embiid, you know, what do you want him to say? That he's happy that 10,000 Knicks fans were at the Wells Fargo Center on Sunday? I just don't get it. I don't get. There's a double-edged sword, sorted to an extent there, and it's kind of frustrating. As the Sixers face their imminent elimination tonight or Thursday, I think that this series has me thinking less of Embiid based solely on his lack of composure when things get tense. He's been statistically great, but I feel like Maxey has surpassed him on my favorite Sixers list. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, it's imminent, their elimination. I don't see how they can win 3 straight games against the Knicks. I get that. Um, Joel has to be better, but Joel is still one of the premier players in the NBA. So there's 2 edges to the sword there. It's not just strictly Joel's fault, but Joel does have a lot of blame. And yes, Maxey's slowly becoming everyone's favorite Sixer. We know that. I'm pretty sure that's already kind of sort of the case for a lot of people. The beard of knowledge. Yes, that's me. Hey, what's up, Brad? How you doing? Just checking in. What are your thoughts on the Eagles draft picks? But we'll talk more later in the show about that. We're gonna kick off with some Sixers talk here. But yes, I spent pretty much the entire show yesterday just oogling and googling and drooling and hyping the Eagles draft and how fantastic it was. There was a few picks at certain points I wouldn't have loved or done myself, i.e., Hunt, Jelix Hunt, or even Will Shipley. But it's an A draft. Not only did Howie grab 2 of the best cornerbacks in the draft, the best and maybe the 3rd best cornerback in Mitchell and DeJean, but he had 3 future picks next year as well. Stellar performance from Howie Roseman, 100%. Do you think that the 76ers can beat the Knicks and move on to the next round? No, I do not. I did. I thought they were going to win the series, Brad, in 5 games, 1,000%. But no, I don't think the Sixers are mentally composed enough to win 3 games in a row, 2 on the road, to come back and win this series. And anybody that tells you they're confident that the Sixers can win 3 in a row, they're lying to you, because there's no way you could feel that way. Itchy Poo, what is up? Pretty much dumb Daryl. Hey, I get crushed, Eric, a lot lately because I'm still blaming Daryl Morey for these problems. Is going to take this as his chance to make his 2K. Yeah, all the money and draft picks he is going to spend. I don't trust him. I don't trust Daryl Morey to make the decisions come off season. And we're trying to focus on tonight, but it's very hard to not look to the future, look ahead to what's upcoming. It's really, really hard not to do that. And I get it, and I get the frustrations from a lot of Sixers Nation to want to look forward and not just look at tonight. Tonight they either survive one more day or it's Tobias Harris's last game. I mean, that's 2 positive outcomes for tonight, Brandon. We either get to see the end of the Tobias Harris era until Daryl Morey's entire offseason goes wrong and he offers Tobias Harris a contract and he returns. I mean, there's like a 1% chance of that. Or we win and we play another game. There's 2 different ways that it could go. 1,000%. Yeah, Pelicans eliminated, unfortunately, with Zion injured for most of the playoff run. They really didn't stand too much of a chance at all. Something that Pelicans gone made me think of is the fact that I saw a report for tonight's Bucks game, and they're on the brink of elimination. That both Dame Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo will be sitting for their elimination game. Yet people are out here criticizing Joel Embiid, who's out there playing on one knee. Joel Embiid's out there playing with one eye. Joel Embiid is 98% of the team's focus and centering point and is getting no help from anybody. Yet no one's criticizing Giannis or Dame Lillard. Criticizing Joel Embiid because he's always injured. He's out there playing injured while 2 other stars in another city are sitting. and watching their team get eliminated. It's something that kind of has irked me over the last 24 hours. I don't want to sound like a homer. I'm not trying to be the guy that, you know, how do I say this? I don't want to be the guy that, makes excuses, but how can you not? You know, we're gonna catch up on these comments in a second because my man Sean Barnard's joining us here, and I want to get him in. Joining me on the I Have No Sponsor hotline, even though we're sponsored, PhillySportsTrips.com. You got to travel with your favorite team to all events, anywhere, bus trips, planes, anywhere. The great trip to Brazil for Eagles Packers Week 1. Make sure you check them out, PhillySportsTrips.com. Let them know EOP and Trending the AM sent you. They do great packages, great packages. So check them out, PhillySportsTrips.com. And here we are. The I Have No Sponsor has a sponsor hotline. Sean Barnard, good morning, my man.
Good morning, Phil. Appreciate you having me on. I wish it was a little bit more celebratory terms with the Sixers team than is the current state, but appreciate you having me nonetheless.
Yeah, so I just said a few moments ago, it's so hard right now because as Sixers fans, we want to look at tonight's game. We do. But it's so hard, even though we are not officially eliminated, to start looking into the future. Do you blame Sixers fans for the way they feel right now? Because there are a lot of Sixers Nation that probably won't even tune into the game tonight because their frustration level is so high.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel it. Definitely don't think people are wrong for feeling that way. It's frustrating. And this series specifically, I think, is taken more out of the fan base from just like the way that each game is played out. Like, yes, the Sixers are down 3-1, but we are a couple referee calls from being 2-2 or a couple plays going differently where it could even be 3-1 in the Sixers' favor, that all 4 of these games have been very winnable. And it's been disappointing that they haven't fallen out on the right side of that. But that makes it all the more frustrating. So I understand it. And I do think in the context of things like this Sixers season, I think it's getting lost to an extent, just what a roller coaster it's been. Like, this is the same year that James Harden started on roster, that there's just been massive roster turnover throughout the season. So it's been a lot. I understand the feelings, and it is frustrating to have the team down 3-1.
I mean, you just said that. It's almost to an extent I forgot. We started the year with James Harden and PJ Tucker on this roster. And I think Jason sums it up. The Sixers have lost the fan base, ownership, all that stuff. And I think it's such a fair point to make. But the way you're talking like there's a chance tonight. You know what I mean? And, even if there's a chance, and I said it right from the get-go, one of the first comments this morning was, do I think the Sixers have a chance? And I said, tonight, sure, there's a chance. But there's no way in my mind that I could foresee them winning 3 games in a row, 2 on the road in New York against this Knicks team. Is there a path, or have you pretty much assumed that 3 in a row is not possible?
Yes, I mean, history tells us that there's been 281 NBA teams that have fallen down the path behind 3-1. 13 of those have been able to crawl out of that. So 4.7% there. That feels about right for this situation. That I'm not going to be the guy pumping up saying we're absolutely in for a Sixers comeback series. They're taking this. They're going to the next round. But with that all being said, like, I do think this Sixers team is physically capable of beating this Knicks team in 3 straight games. I am frustrated by the way the 3 losses have gone down because it has felt, in my opinion, more on the Sixers falling apart than the Knicks truly going out and taking the game. So it sucks from that regard. I think if they come out with a composure that they will be capable of, at the minimum, winning tonight, I do think they can still give this team a run for their money, but it's certainly not something that I'd be writing out in pen or making some plans for Game 7 just yet.
Who do you blame for this situation that we're in right now? I know a lot of people want to blame Joel Embiid and his lack of production in the fourth quarter. Me, because everyone says I have an agenda, I blame Daryl Morey for, not putting together, a good enough roster. Like, what, I mean, it's not just the refs. I know the refereeing has been terrible. I know the referees have swayed parts of games. I still don't blame the refs for the losses, though, because there are plenty of opportunities for the players themselves. Do you put some of the blame on Nick Nurse and his lack of making any adjustments? Do you, where power rankings or your pecking order of blame on why we are in the situation that we're in right now?
Yeah, so for better or for worse, I do feel this is essentially a full team collapse here, that you can assign some blame to just about everybody, that you certainly can throw some at Joel Embiid for losing his cool at times, for, not quite having the mental composure they would hope from. You can certainly throw some at Tyrese Maxey for being a little bit unwilling to step on toes and go out there and take a game in the way that I want from him in this specific situation. But I'm not saying the moment's been too big for him, but it does feel like he still hasn't quite turned that corner as far as I'm a 1A guy that this team needs me to go out there and just get offense sometimes. Then you look at the supporting cast, you definitely can have issues with some guys underperforming. I mean, the Tobias Harris experience, as much as like it's still ragging on the guy, you're getting essentially zero production from a guy making $40 million and 28% of the salary cap. So it's tough to build a roster like that. As far as the Daryl Morey point, I do think the rebounding issues are fully on Daryl Morey's plate. That's something that you know about Joel Embiid, and it's only being maximized because of the state that he's at. That even Joel Embiid at 1,000% is not this elite rebounder. That he's big, he gets them, but he's not a guy who that's his great skill set. And then when you're looking at Tobias Harris as his pairing, that's not a guy who's going to go up and get those contested boards either. So it's clear that the Knicks are bullying this team on the boards. And then honestly, I throw a larger percentage of the blame on Nick Nurse than I've kind of seen be like the wide perception there. That I do think I've been frustrated with the lack of adjustments. It feels like he has coached from behind in this series, which is not something that I expected. I think he over adjusted on Jalen Brunson after those first two games, and that's directly led to him getting more comfortable, getting going, and making this Knicks team better. And it's like some of the unwillingness to just get creative. We haven't played any small ball. We haven't played any 5-out basketball. He has not thrown in any of the young guys, the scrappers, to try and change just kind of the outlook, the energy of a game. So I've been very underwhelmed by Nick Nurse. So a lot of blame to go around, a lot of guys that deserve to take it.
It's funny you say that because as you were, before you mentioned Nick Nurse's name, I take notes when I'm talking to somebody on the show, and I wrote down Harris's name with Nick Nurse right under it. And you led yourself right into what I was going to say is like, it's the more things change. I'm sure you've heard it. The more things change, the more they stay the same. You know, we wanted something different from Doc Rivers. We got Nick Nurse. Yet Nick Nurse is coaching this series eerily similar to the way Doc Rivers would. You know, obviously Harris should not be out there, or at least out there the amount he is. You haven't seen KJ Martin. You haven't seen Ricky Council. You know, how many times this year has he said, oh, we're going to start trying Paul Reed and Embiid on the floor at the same time? Haven't seen it yet this entire season. Not saying that that would be the answer because Paul Reed has not been good. His 12 minutes he's played in 4 games or whatever it is. But, you know, is this just who Nick Nurse is? Because if I remember correctly, watching Nick Nurse coach the Raptors, and, you know, a lot of those series were against, you know, process era Sixers teams, you know, he ran 7-man rotations only in Toronto during the playoffs and stuff like that. So this probably is who Nick Nurse is. Yet, how come he can't? Is that just him being a stubborn coach, or does he just not realize, or does he not trust these guys in these moments?
Yeah, a little bit of all of the above. That I do think it's been a weird year as far as when you do get the 2-month gap from Joel Embiid, that like it's difficult to get this team fully on the same page. The thing about guys like Kyle Lowry, like a guy like Kyle Lowry did not play with Joel until the few games leading into this playoff run, as he was a midseason acquisition. A guy like Buddy Hield, who's obviously been a massive disappointment. We did not get to see him build any sort of chemistry with Joel Embiid. I mean, it's certainly Nick Nurse. It is a characteristic of him to keep a short bench, play guys a ton of minutes, and that's not super uncommon that a lot of coaches do that, especially come playoff time. I was frustrated by the decision to play Joel Embiid the entirety of the second half in Game 4. I get it's a lose-lose spot that you take him off and this team falls apart, but he's just not kind of the type of player that you can push that button of. That was the first time in his entire career that Embiid had played an entire half of basketball without coming out. So as far as the X's and O's, I still think it's a step up of Doc Rivers. There has been some stuff defensively, some scheme stuff that I think is improved, but a lot of the roster outlook stuff, the decision, the lack of creativity, I'm definitely frustrated with the same regard. And you mentioned the Paul Reed and Joel Embiid lineups. I absolutely would have tried that for just stretches of the series because Paul Reed's still your best rebounder on this team, Joel Embiid included. I get it's not perfect from a spacing aspect, that there's other things you can complain about, but just try something. I would have preferred more to be the case than just continually getting beat on the boards.
Nick Nurse is capable of making changes. We've seen it by the fact that Buddy Hield didn't see the floor at all in the last game. Campaign, who had like 5 minutes the game before, you know, got hot, so they ran with Campaign. So Nick Nurse is not, you know, scared to bench the bigger name star player. He did it with Buddy Hield. So, you know, what will it take? Like, well, obviously, I mean, at this point, we're backs up against the wall. Who knows what's going to happen? And if it doesn't work tonight, then the season's over. But like, what is the deal with Sixers coaches not moving on from Tobias Harris? And you know me, we've done this many of times. I'm a big Tobias Harris supporter, But even I can agree that it's time that this guy shouldn't be out there 35, 40 minutes a game. He just shouldn't. But yet Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers, everybody that's been here in Philly just is afraid to make that decision because of the money. So can we blame Josh Harris to an extent for some of these problems?
Yeah, I mean, I am very curious what those conversations are like in the back room. That we do know the basketball politics of that money comes with expectation.
Mhm.
Tobias is a guy making 28% of the salary cap. The 19th highest paid player in the entire NBA is Tobias Harris, which is just absurd to think about like that. But the bottom line is, yeah, I don't understand the blind loyalty. That there is no defining basketball trait that earns this guy the right to a guaranteed 35 minutes.
Mhm.
He's averaging 8 points a game throughout this playoff stretch and playing probably his worst stretch of basketball of his entire Sixers tenure. So it is frustrating. There's plenty of guys I feel optimize the skill sets of Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey more so than Harris when you're looking at traits like additional ball handling, like additional rebounding, like additional shooting. And all these things are just that Tobias is just okay at. So it is frustrating. I don't understand. I do think that there's some sort of like, I gave Nurse a pass for most of this season because I was looking at it from the mindset of the goal is to get Tobias Harris to play his best come playoff time. But we're
Mhm.
now here at playoff time. And I don't think it would have been successful to be benching him throughout the regular season to kind of get him towards this point. And I thought Nurse took a stride forward by benching him for the conclusion of that Heat game in the play-in.
Mhm.
But we're right back where we started. So it's very frustrating. I don't get it. And at the minimum, this is the final stretch of Tobias Harris ever wearing a Sixers uniform.
You know what? I have this scary, scary thought that, I don't want to get into the offseason, but Daryl Morey's going to have a plan. It's not going to work out, and he's going to have all this cap space. So he's going to bring Tobias Harris and Buddy Hield back, not on
Can't do it.
max deals, but like there's that like little again. Everyone says I have a Daryl Morey agenda that I don't like the guy. I just don't trust the guy. But I'm just scared that there's that little smidge chance he comes back. This comment here from the Bull, RJ, and thanks for tuning in, my man. The way Joel Embiid's playing, not directly towards this question, but something I've noticed, and I want to get your opinion on it. Like Joel Embiid has always been a guy that we've argued spends too much time at the 3-point line, sometimes throughout his career, and I've noticed him doing that a lot in this Knicks series. And I'm wondering if he's taking, like, what was he, 1 for 6 in the last game? I know he's taking like 6 or 7 threes a game in this series. Is that partially the knee? And not one after he went up for that dunk, scared himself with the knee. I kind of feel like he hasn't played scared, but he's played a little tentative at times. And when you're playing tentative as a center that can shoot, you end up out at that 3-point line a little too much. Is that something you've noticed, or do you think the knee is playing into that a little bit?
Yeah, I think partially for sure. And this has been something since he returned from the knee surgery, not just after he had that issue, that scare in game one after the dunk, that since he's come back after the 2 months off, that he has made it a focus to get up more 3-pointers. In general, I think that's a positive, that's something that throughout the entirety of his career, I would like him to do that more so than he does. He does a whole lot of like the pump fake three and then dribble in and attack the lane, which can be effective at times, but I still think there's times where he should just straight up shoot it, that he's still an above average NBA 3-point shooter, which for a guy his size is a weapon, sitting around 36% for his career. So I still like the concept of him getting up. I do think he's leaned on it a little bit too much, and part of that was him getting as hot as he did in that game 3 where he hit, I believe it was the 5 3-pointers just in the third quarter there. So
Mhm.
he's capable. I think it's tied into it, but not something. I think it's probably something that we live with for now, and we'll see how to adjust moving forward.
What's 76ers player outside of Batum on his careers? Look, I still put a lot of the blame on Daryl Morey. I saw an interesting post. I forget who it was, but talking about the backup center role, and if we would have traded for Andre Drummond, would that have made a difference in this series? And I don't know if Andre Drummond would have made a difference in this series or not. But I've been saying on social media this entire series that we would not be facing the Knicks right now if Daryl Morey at the deadline would have done a better job backing up that Joel Embiid was already out at the deadline if he would have gotten Drummond or somebody else. Maybe we're the 5 seed. Maybe we're the 6 seed. Maybe we're cruising along here. Maybe the pressure to return Joel Embiid and play him 44 minutes wouldn't have been there. Again, Daryl Morey. Do you think somebody like Andre Drummond would have made a difference in this series or over the course? And you don't even have to use Andre Drummond. You can use any other center that was available or is available out there.
Yeah, I do think it was a miss not getting an upgraded backup big. And for the Drummond point here, to Morey's defense a little bit, that he very much tried and the Bulls simply were unwilling to deal him. The Chicago Bulls have not traded a player since 2021, which is absurd malpractice from a franchise standpoint. I do think Drummond would have made a difference on the Sixers team. And I do agree with your point that the Sixers would not be in the spot that they currently are if that had been the case. But on the other side of things, it is kind of unfortunate how the bracket did shape out here, that I do truly feel like the Knicks and Sixers are the second and third best teams in the Eastern Conference. And I think if things shake out differently for either one of these teams, that if it's the Cavs, the Magic, the Pacers, the Bucks, that both sides of this matchup are cleaning up pretty easily in those. So it's unfortunate. I do wish that he was able to grab another big, but it is what it is. I think that was more on the Bulls being unwilling to deal Drummond and Morey having an inkling that was going to get done.
I mean, it wouldn't have just helped the backup, it wouldn't have just helped during the time that Embiid was gone at the center position, but maybe Buddy Hield playing with a better center wouldn't have gotten cold towards the end of the year. Maybe Tobias Harris's confidence would have been better. Maybe if Andre Drummond or whoever was brought in, like the ripple effects that it could have had by having a more competent, because they struggled when Embiid was gone. Their record is what it was, not good when he was gone. There's so many ripple effects that having gotten a better backup center at that point could have had, that we might not just not be playing the Knicks right now. If we were playing the Knicks still, we might have a better, we might be beating them, because Buddy Hield's a guy that's been a complete and total, ghost this series towards the end of the season. Those are the things that people don't think about. Not just the record maybe being a little bit better, but the confidence of some of the players on the team might not have dropped to a point where it's unrecoverable at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And like the Buddy Hield stuff's frustrating. And I'll also just point internally for the center conversation. Like a guy like Mo Bamba was expected to at least be playable to an extent this year. And while he's had his flashes, he's essentially turned himself into a guy that when the threes are falling, you can play him. When he's not, you can't. And that's kind of a strange archetype for him to be in for a dude that is a 7-foot center. I've been unimpressed by the motor and just the coordination of Bamba, which essentially is why I believe Nurse has pulled him completely to this point. I do think he was expected to be in the mix more than he was. And then Paul Reed, I mean, it's going to be an interesting Paul Reed conversation, because one of the side effects of assuming that they do lose this series to the Knicks, Paul Reed's contract no longer guaranteed moving forward, as one of the clauses in there was they had to make it past the first round. So there is going to have to be some difficult, Paul Reed conversation this summer, because his stock was certainly higher last offseason than it is right now.
That is interesting. I did not know that clause was in the contract there, because I heard people complaining about Paul Reed on social media yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, he's stuck with a big contract. You can't get rid of him." That's interesting. That's a very interesting point right there. So something with Joel Embiid, and I saw a little clip that you put out from one of your shows the other day, or from yesterday, about people already talking about the offseason, trading him, moving on from him, all the criticism that Joel Embiid is facing. And so I don't know if you caught it right before you joined the show. I started like a thread, a theory, something that just popped into my head this morning, about how he doesn't deserve the criticism. I know he has struggled. I know the fourth quarter stats of this series, whatnot. But you got a guy playing on one knee. You got a guy playing basically with one eye right now. Yet in another series in Milwaukee, who are losing that series, probably going to lose that series, their two stars are sitting the entire series. Giannis is not playing at all. Dame Lillard, he played one game or two games of the series, but it's an elimination game, and you've got your two stars sitting there. And I get it. Calf strains can be a problem and whatnot. But yet nobody's criticizing them. But you got Joel Embiid out here on one leg, one eye, putting out 44 minutes, doing everything he can. They're a little double standard in the criticism of stars in the NBA, isn't there?
Yeah, I absolutely do think that's the case. And for Joel specifically, like the reality of this situation is there's very few NBA players who would be playing through exactly what he is right now. But like the knee issues, and we probably will never hear the extent of what the problem is, because Joel specifically and the Sixers play a part in this, are pretty uptight in actually letting people in on kind of what the situation is. It's constantly smoke and mirrors and kept behind guard, which I don't think anyone appreciates. But the bottom line is Joel Embiid has been on the floor, and not only that, but he's still been the best player in this series. That just in the Joel Embiid minutes during this, Sixers are plus 34 in the 160 minutes that he played and minus 38 in the 32 minutes that he hasn't. He's averaging 35 points, 9 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.3 steals, 1.0 blocks. He's been very good in this series. at a level in which he probably should not be even the floor. So the fourth quarter stuff is frustrating. It hasn't been perfect. And again, I do think this works hand in hand with the Nick Nurse criticism of you can't play him the entirety of the second half and expect him to have the legs down the stretch there. That was, again, a mistake on my end. But the bottom line is I do think Joel's played like a warrior. He's played very well. He's given this team a chance, carried them for stretches, and does deserve a little more praise for that than has been the case.
Yeah, I mean, I know you do work with Fox. You're on Fox the Gambler pretty much every single day now with Sean Bryce and the boys. Obviously talking a lot of gambling. It's kind of shocking. Like, I'm a gambler. I don't bet a lot on basketball, but I do bet a lot football and golf specifically. Sixers in 7 is only 6-1 odds. Like, to me, in my mind, that's not as long shot as it should be. Like, I'm not fact checking Fred. I don't know what sportsbook he's seeing 6-1, but I kind of feel like it should be longer odds than 6-1 right there. To me, that almost tells me they got a chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, and I feel
lines tell you something. Does 6-1 to come back and win this tell you something?
I do give this team somewhat of a chance. Like, and honestly, I know I said 4.7% is the historic percentage of teams that have come back from this. I do think it's slightly closer in this case because I just think the Sixers and Knicks are very much closer. That all 4 games have essentially been coin flip games that could have gone either way. And to the same breath, that makes it a little less likely that we can win 3 in a row because the Knicks aren't going to roll over by any means. But I do think that the Sixers team is still the overall better team. And it is frustrating that they're in this situation because, again, I'm not going to be the blame the ref guys or a couple breaks go differently. But I do truly feel like there's very much most worlds we're in right now. It's a 2-2 series. It's what it feels like it should be. And there's even, you could make the case that it very well could be 3-1 right now. So it's far closer than the 3-1 deficit would indicate. I do give this team a puncher's chance.
I love it. It's plus 140 for them to win tonight. Knicks in 7 is actually longer odds at 8-1. That to me makes sense because bettors are thinking the Knicks are going to win tonight or tomorrow right there. So tonight's game in Madison Square Garden, game 5, is at the end. Do they find a way? I think they have a better chance at winning tonight than they do in game 6. Do you think the Sixers stand a chance tonight?
I do. I do think the Sixers win tonight. That I don't. What I've noticed about this team this year, and what I do think is an improvement that's going to get lost, is this team doesn't roll over in the way that past year's teams do, and that is led by Joel Embiid. That he does have a little bit of fire, a little bit of passion, and just kind of a relentless unwillingness that I have not seen from him in past years. I still think the Sixers are the better team in the series and going to find a way. I think they get the job done tonight. Game 6 and 7, entirely different questions, but I don't see this being a 4-1 gentleman's sweep. I feel like these teams are too close for that to be the case.
Yeah, the Bell's palsy thing is just completely crazy and everything.
Poor guy, man.
Maurice Walker saying Brunson under 35.5 points. I guess that's a bet that's going on right now, or a line. Jalen Brunson, we hate him. The whole Knicks thing, or the whole Villanova thing. I don't know what your opinion is on all the Villanova promotional stuff going on. But yeah, I mean, Brunson still is a very high quality player based off of what he does with what he has, athleticism and skill style. Have you changed your opinion at all watching? You watch these games, as unbiased as you can because you cover them all. Have you learned anything about Jalen Brunson this playoff series?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Jalen Brunson guy for a couple of years now. He's been in that most underrated players in the league conversation for quite some time for me. It's frustrating to watch this go down and kind of tear the Sixers' hearts out. I will say, watching them as zeroed in and close up as it has been, I've been a little more frustrated with some of the foul baiting stuff and the grifting and the way that certainly Joel Embiid receives plenty of criticism for. Certainly, guys like James Harden, Terrion get criticized for. I do think Brunson leans on it more than I really had in my brain is the case, and a lot of people expect, but that's not making an excuse or take any away from how talented he is. I do think the Sixers did an excellent job on him through the first 2 games and really had the mindset of we're forcing the other guys to beat us. That kind of reversed for games 3 and 4, where they took the mindset of Brunson can't carry this team to a win on his own shoulders. We're going to force him to do that, take away all the other guys. And then Brunson proved that he can do just that right there in game 4 by dropping for a 47 piece. So he's a great player. I would love watching him in any other situation than this series, and will be moving forward. But yeah, shout out to Jalen Brunson. He's far better than a lot of people still want to give him credit.
I agree. I think he's a guy that's got potential to win an MVP at some point in his career for sure.
He'll
Real quick
probably
before
receive
we
votes this
wrap
year,
up
by
and
the way.
all. I'm sorry.
He'll probably receive some votes this year, I would
Yeah.
expect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Real quick before we wrap up this segment of the show and I get you out of here. Thoughts on the rest of the series going on around in the NBA playoffs? Has anything stood out to you? I mean, not surprised at the Nuggets Lakers. I wasn't surprised there. I was sort of semi-surprised the Pelicans didn't win a game in their series, but OKC is just a team that I just love to watch. They're proving that you could do the process and not trade all those assets, for that big star, build the right team. Anything going on right now around the playoffs in the NBA that have surprised you at all?
Yeah, there's been a ton of fun matchups. I'm with you that I didn't expect a sweep from OKC, that I did think that Pelicans team would put up more of a fight. But to me, probably the biggest takeaway that I would say so far is this Timberwolves team looks legit. That Anthony Edwards has absolutely taken this leap into a guy that looks like a borderline face of the league right now. There's been a whole lot of kind of passing the torch moments across a ton of these series, whether it is Jokic taking down LeBron, whether it is Anthony Edwards looking Kevin Durant and Devin Booker right in their eyes and taking their lunch money, even like Luka Doncic stepping up, a little bit of the master and the student with him in a James Harden type matchup from the stylistic standpoint there. So there's been a ton of cool storylines. I do think the Timberwolves looking as good as they've looked is probably my favorite takeaway and the team that has surprised me the most thus far.
Gotcha. Real quick, Fred Burns had said here, did you guys talk about the fans bailing on this team and getting butthurt when they're called out? I'm going to phrase this, and this will be the last thing that I'll get you out of here, obviously. The fans, the Wells
Yeah.
Fargo Center being sold out, but packed with Knicks fans. I don't even care. I'm kind of over that at this point. I get it. I get fans don't want to spend their $200, $300, $400 for the same old, same old. But what I went to was how butthurt, to use Fred Burns' comments or words there, was that Joel Embiid spoke his mind afterwards and saying how disappointed he was, to paraphrase it. We want our athletes, our star athletes, to be honest. But then when they are actually honest, we get upset that they're honest. Where do you fall on that equation with Joel Embiid speaking his mind about the frustrations of the Knicks fans, and that's not the way it should be, but also understanding nobody wants to spend their money anymore?
Yeah, I think Joel Embiid throughout his career, being a little bit too honest and too blunt has been a criticism of him. And there's a lot of situations which you can pull the tape on that. This was kind of a double-edged sword question that, like, there's no proper way to answer. And I get the counter to that is you can look at how Nick Nurse and Tyrese Maxey answered, which essentially was a full deflection of, I love our fans. The energy is always great. It didn't really address it. I have zero issue with what Embiid said. I think he's right to be disappointed in it. I mean, think about he's hearing FMB chants and Jalen Brunson MVP chants in his own building. That does suck, and that is disappointing. And as far as like the wider conversation here, I get the economics and I get how close New York is, but the reality of the situation is that, like, you nailed it. Sixers fans have lost some belief in this team, that they did not believe that the team could pull out a victory or did not have the motivation to be in the building for that type of things. They thought the Sixers were going to disappoint them. And on the other hand, Knicks fans believe that they could come out there and take it. And both of those things ended up being correct. So I do think that is relevant in the wider scheme. That should be a little eye-opening to Sixers upper management. It's disappointing. It is the situation. It is what it is. It's not the reason for the loss, but I have no issue with Joel saying it. And it is disappointing because I've never seen anything like that.
I mean, people saying it was because the tickets were cheaper and Knicks fans, whatnot. Brett saying, and I trust Brett's, saying $700 for tonight's game. I mean, there are plenty of tickets like that for the Sixers game on Sunday, and I was criticized when I'm calling out the fans for not going. I'm getting criticized because I wasn't there as well, but I get it. What do you got going on today? I'm sure you're very busy at the Gambler today, 102.5, and on all iHeartRadio and all those other platforms. What do you got going on today with Sean?
Yeah, we will actually be live during the Sixers game from the Duncan Lounge in studio. So we'll be we're bringing the black clothes just in case it is a funeral for the Sixers team. But I do think that they got one more in them. So you can catch that on our YouTube page, on all our social media. So we'll be live throughout the game. Also some pregame talk as well. So we'll be going live a little early, getting some expectations, and then reacting to however things go from there.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much, Sean. I can't wait to see the next time I get you on this show. In the coming weeks, month, what we're going to be talking about, because obviously it's going to be the end at some point tonight or another night. But man, thank you very much for your time again this morning, and continue to kick ass over at the Gambler.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Phil. You keep crushing it on here. And I am optimistic that even beyond this season, there will be some positivity, that this is a summer that should be a bright spot to be a Sixers fan. Let's hope that comes true.
All right. Thanks a lot, Sean. We'll see you next time. Make sure everybody follow him, Sean_Bernard1 and at Fox the Gambler. Have a good one.
Sounds good. Talk to you.
All right. That was Sean Bernard on the I Have No Sponsor hotline, brought to you by Cherry Law Firm. If you're in a motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or affected by criminal law, check out our guys, David R. Cherry at the Cherry Law Firm. They're here to fight for you and get you what you deserve. Cherry Injury Law, dedicated, well-established personal injury law firm built on the promise of aiding the seriously injured throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Westchester Media, don't hesitate to call them, 610-565-0300, or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let David R. Cherry fight for your rights. Again, 610-565-0300 or cherryinjurylaw.com. Again, that was the great Sean Bernard, who's on Fox the Gambler every single day with Sean Bryce, talking all things NBA, gambling, et cetera, et cetera. Next year, I'll be back. A lot of great comments flowing in throughout the interview with Sean Bernard. A lot of great information. If I missed any of your comments, re-put them in the comment section again, and I will catch up. We are going to talk football because there's something else that has been irking me with the NFL and Joel Embiid since yesterday. So we will. But yes, it is very hard to get emotionally invested in tonight's game, period. What? I've read 3 in 41 minutes, and sometimes you got to pay the bills, my man. Joel is a reflection of this fan base. Just soft and wise. Stop, Marshawn. The guy is out there on one knee and one eye, and I'm sick of this because, yeah, he's a lot to blame, but he's not soft and whiny and a loser. Are you saying that about Giannis or Dame sitting out an elimination game tonight? No, Joel's out there putting his body, his health, his well-being on the line every single night for this team. Yeah, not successfully. Maybe somebody else could step up around him. Oh, I missed a lot of comments. So if you're I thought you were calling out Joel Embiid. I mean, you have called out the Sixers before. So maybe I missed some other comments. See you at the funeral. I'm one of the most optimistic fans, but I know my team and how Nick is coaching. He's coaching more like a Nicholas Nurse than a Nick Nurse. So we went from Doc Rivers to Glenn Rivers. So now Nick Nurse is now Nicholas Nurse. Okay. Yeah, working on a sprained ankle and Bell's palsy. Exactly. Like, I'm assuming. It's a joke, dude. Chill out, man. Chill out. Brett, I saw you come in, man. Great to see you back in the show. Yesterday, get-in was $7 for Pelicans. God damn. I can't believe the Pelicans got ran off. I mean, I'm not saying I thought the Pelicans were going to win that series, but any team that just gets straight run off in 4 games like that. OKC is a team that I really do thoroughly enjoy. I've always been an OKC fan. I got a very good friend that's a huge fan, lives out in that area, dating back to the KD, their big 3 before they were the big 3. We some abandoned ship type fans. We are to an extent. I get the fans not want to spend the premium dollars on Sunday to go to the Sixers Knicks game. I get that. Times are tight. Financially, it's tight. But, man, it's still annoying that so many Knicks fans were there. And I don't blame them for abandoning ship and not wanting to spend $700. But come on now. Season ticket holders, putting your tickets on the market like that, knowing full well that Knicks fans are going to eat them up. It's frustrating. Let me try to organize my mind around the comments so I don't mess up again on you guys. It's those suburban fans who love Nova more than I bet you there are a lot of Nova fans that live out in the main line, Devon, all those areas, Paoli, all those guys at the game. That's it. I'm taking it 6-1 odds, 6 and 7. I wish, Fred, it was 8 to 10 to 1, and I would definitely be throwing a shekel on it. But I don't know if 6 to 1 for my baby tiny little betting style, 1 unit for me is not a lot of money. It's not worth the risk and reward for me. But is there a path that the Sixers do it? I don't know. 6 to 1, the odds that the Sixers win this series is not that much of a long shot. Or is it in NBA terms? I don't bet a lot of NBA. I mean, I'm a golf bettor, and 6 to 1 is an insanely low number. It basically means you're winning, no doubt about it. So 6-1 is kind of crazy to me. But maybe I just don't understand NBA betting well enough. I will not chill out. I'm pissed. Well, you know what? I'll just ignore you. Disrespected Wilt statue. That embarrassing. That right here to Fred. Back to Fred. He's taking the 6-1. This right here is a reason to take it. Anytime a fan base disrespects a Philadelphia statue or landmark, the Philadelphia team wins. It's not worked out for so many organizations, fans, franchises, cities, whatever. Don't disrespect Philly. Then you pay the price. Went 0 dark 30 with Embiid hurt early Philly season and pre-draft. Yeah, well, I'm glad to have you back, my man. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Phillies are red hot. I know. All of a sudden, Phillies fans are pissed off and jumping off the bandwagon because of one loss last night to the Angels. Really, it was Sir Anthony Dominguez's loss and Rob Thompson's loss, but it was still a good game. The Phillies are so good right now. Who can afford $500 tickets other than Jerry Law Firm? Exactly. But see, you know what? See, here's the thing, Duck. I remember talking about this on this show during Phillies playoff runs the last 2 years, and talking about all the fans that are going to 2, 3, 4 Phillies games, dropping $400-$500 to a game. When the fans think there's a chance, they have no problem spending it, and I don't know where they get the money to spend it. Because no offense, I can't do it. I'm not doing it. I know I just bought a house, so obviously I've got some kind of money. Not much, but some. I got a pizza shop. I can never spend. I can't spend $200 on a sports ticket unless it's. I just can't. I just can't justify it. It's not me being cheap. It just doesn't make sense to me. Tobias is so invisible. It's crazy, but not surprising. Absolutely. We've talked about this. Talked about it with Sean Barnard. Like Doc Rivers. What am I thinking, Adam? Nick Nurse has shown he has the ability and willingness to make adjustments. Obviously, benching Buddy Hield. But yet, he won't bench Tobias. And I brought up the theory, and I don't know if there's any validity to this at all. But I wonder if Josh Harris says, I'm spending this big money, just like Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie get involved in the football operations of the Eagles. Dave Dombrowski and John Middleton probably are involved with the decision to put Taiwan Walker because of the money back in the rotation. I wonder if Josh Harris is in the ear of Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey. You got to play Tobias because I'm paying him premium dollars. I wonder if Josh Harris is physically involved because the fact that they just so quickly benched Buddy Hield, but not willing to do it to Tobias, makes me wonder whose decision it is to play Tobias Harris. Anything over 10-1, you throw in a 20 to see what happens. Absolutely. But 6-1 kind of feels like not worth. Like if I was to bet something like a series outcome, it'd be a $5 or $10 bet max. 6-1 just doesn't do it for me. But I like the number. I don't think I can watch Brunson anymore. Can't stand him. I like Jalen Brunson. I think if it wasn't against the Sixers right now, I'd be cheering for him to an extent. But now Villanova's dead to me because of the way Villanova's Twitter account was handled. Michael Gallup. What does this have anything to do with what we're talking about? Younger me would, but 3 kids mortgage. Yeah, I can't swing it either. Like I never justified going to expensive sporting events. I mean, when I was younger, yeah, I spent a lot of money on concert tickets, but even those, like the most I would ever spend is like $100 on a ticket. Like I just can't justify $200, $500 per ticket, concessions, parking. You spend $500 on a ticket and you go with one person. So that's $1,000 for tickets, $50 for parking, $100 for food, $3,000 for a few beers. Like, I just can't justify it. It's literally a mortgage. If I wanted to go to Sunday's game at the Wells Fargo Center, it's basically one of my new mortgage payments to go. And that's pathetic when you think about it. Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know how people do it. Phillies fans are the worst too at complaining. We have sucked for so long. We have no room to complain about anything or everything. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Josh Harris is worried about the Commanders. Josh Harris ain't worried about the Commanders. He ain't worried about the Devils. He ain't worried about the Sixers. He's worried about the bottom dollar and getting a return on his investment. And as long as the Sixers continue to make the playoffs every single year, and he continues to get that playoff revenue, He's never going to make the bold moves or decisions, i.e., fire Daryl Morey already, that it takes to make a winning franchise. He's not willing to do that. And sorry, Josh Harris's problem. We've come across owners in this scenario where we want them to sell the team and they won't for decades in Philadelphia, going back to Norman Brayman with the Eagles in the late 80s, early 90s. Ed Snyder, we couldn't wait to get rid of him. That was unfortunate. But, Josh Harris cares about money, and that is it. Is his portfolio growing? That's all he cares about. Milwaukee sucks, but no one is going to talk about how they got fans in the first round. No one's going to talk about Giannis and Dame Lillard sitting out elimination games. But Joel Embiid playing with all these injuries is the problem. You couldn't criticize Joel Embiid for poor fourth quarters if he sat the fourth quarter because he was injured. But yet, Giannis and Dame, no one's criticizing them for missing another first-round exit for the Bucks. I think Tobias is popular in the clubhouse, and not starting him on would annoy Joel. I'm not saying you don't have to start him, but 20, 25 minutes max maybe. When Tobias plays the last 5 minutes, 0-3, sits the last 5, 2-0. That's great detailed knowledge right there. And yeah, he is popular in the clubhouse. I've talked about this countless times over the last 2.5, 3 years of doing trending in the AM. Tobias Harris is a locker room leader. Marshawn will make fun of me for saying that, but that's what I say. He's a locker room leader. Players respect him. It is what it is. But he's just not good enough. He gives you nothing. I saw earlier, if Thomson wanted to win last night, he would have had JT hit for Rojas. I didn't stay up. I watched the first couple innings. They were winning when I went to sleep. I saw they lost. I saw Sir Anthony got destroyed, gave up the lead. Yeah. So I don't know. And I don't know how Phillies fans stay up for West Coast games and then are up at this time of the morning. And maybe I'm just an old man. I feel like I was timed out by the chat. Sorry, I apologize. I was paying attention to what Sean had to say, trying to take some notes. I missed a bunch in the chat, so my apologies. Yeah, my big spend this summer, besides vacation, is taking away from 2 kids for bobblehead at the Phillies. I'm not going to go to bobblehead games, but send me a bobblehead. I'll add it. I'm going to make this my bobblehead shelf. I'm going to start collecting bobbleheads and have them on the table here. It's really relevant reference. That's a month's wages for, yeah, exactly. Seriously. I'm already in off-season mode for the Sixers. Go get Lauri Markkanen. I wanted Lauri Markkanen. If you see, Joe, I think you're new to the show since I've joined Edge of Philly. But for the core 12, for the new people, core 12 are the regulars here every single day. It's not 12 people. It's just the people that come in. Joe, you've been here every day for the last 6 days on this new channel. So you're part of the core 12 now. I was talking about Lauri Markkanen every day leading up to the trade deadline. I wanted him. Thought he would have been perfect. We didn't get him, though. Phil won't go. I tried to get him to go. He didn't go. Yeah, I did not. I sold those tickets. I'm getting a new tattoo in about 3 weeks with that money. Eagles wrecked Zeke. Oh, I know. Ezekiel Elliott's back with the Cowboys. Yay for them. Hey, he loves the Commanders, dude. That was his childhood team. Loving them, loving a team, and caring more about money are 2 totally different things, Fred. I don't. Oh, damn itch. I don't think he's going to care enough to build a new stadium. He's going to care enough to get them to become a winning organization, but he will not care enough in DC to do what it takes to make the hard decisions to win a championship. There's a difference between wanting to win a championship and wanting to be a regular playoff team that constantly is selling tickets, constantly making money, constantly doing something. That's all he cares about. The Commanders are basically going to turn into the Sixers, a perennial playoff team eventually, maybe, a perennial playoff team, but never really truly in the title conversation. The fans will think they're in the conversation every single year, but in the end, 10 years from now, Commanders fans are going to be thinking what we're thinking right now with the Sixers. That is my prediction. That's why you got to love the Philadelphia Wings. Paid more for parking than I did tickets. I just wish I knew more about lacrosse, Freddie. Lacrosse just was never anything for me growing up in Delco. I didn't even have none of my schooling had a lacrosse team till I got to college. Never really got into it. I did have a friend that back in the mid '90s. Weren't the Wings like winning like title after title? Um, they were good, but they were just such a fringe sport at that time. So worried about the yeah. Josh Harris is only worried about a stadium deal. Yeah, he just wants that money. Stadium deal is big money, Brett, and that's what he cares about. That portfolio. Dollar bills, y'all. Don't forget Harold Catch, Norman Brayman. You know, when Bill Giles was running the Phillies organization for a while, as the head owner of the team. What's not Bill Giles? Um, there were a lot of bad owners in Philly throughout the years, throughout the decades. Howie's learned to start listening to how intelligent some of our content creators are. I do want to address this. I'm going to run into some ad reads here in a minute, and then I'm going to bring up Nick Wright and his comments 100% because they're annoying as flying hell. Hate Josh all you want, but he is an owner that will spend money. Yeah, I get it. But spending money the wrong way versus the right way, there's a difference. Like, will Josh Harris make the tough decision? So what I am suggesting is something that he won't do with the Sixers, which also, if this scenario played out in D.C., he wouldn't do in D.C. I think Daryl Morey should be fired. I do not trust Daryl Morey to make the decisions this offseason with all the cap space, all the draft capital, freeing up everything that's going to go on this offseason. I do not trust Daryl Morey. I don't know if Josh Harris trusts Daryl Morey, but Josh Harris just gave Daryl Morey 4-year extension or whatever to match Nick Nurse's contract. Josh Harris would never make the hard decision to fire a Daryl Morey type name player and pay him, even if it means maybe giving your team a better chance at winning a title, maybe a lesser chance of making the playoffs, but a better chance of winning a title. Those hard decisions, Daryl Morey, he knows, will keep this team relevant, keep this team in the playoff hunt, but Daryl Morey will never get this team to a title. Josh Harris doesn't have the bones in his body to make that tough decision. Why he kept Doc Rivers too long? You know, he's just not going to make that decision. Frederick said something real funny at the end of the show. Sal Rosenberg, what are we talking about here? Just running random comments out here now. Under Armour stopped making Joel sneakers, and that's after an MVP season. I don't know what that even means. Like, I get what you're saying, but I don't know what that means. I haven't seen Brett in a minute. He's been here all show long. Not that I would buy a Joel Embiid sneaker. Yeah, I mean, well, what's he now with New Balance? I wear New Balances all the time. I rock the New Balances, so the best for my fat feet. You mean Jay Snyder when he took over the Flyers in the late '80s, early '90s? The chants and signs of Jay must go were pretty rampant. I didn't really go to a lot of Flyers games in that time frame. It was a special occasion for our family to afford Flyers games back in that time frame. So we lost Reggie due to Norman Brayman and Barkley due to Harold Katz. We've had some bad owners. Absolutely. Bring back Pat Croce. Pat Croce had this team, this fan base energized. Pat Croce knew nothing about basketball. But he knew marketing. He knew fans. He knew how to take care of the people that your product was trying to bring in. Marketing-wise, Pat Croce, man, I wish we would have won a title, not just for Allen Iverson, but for Larry Brown, for Pat Croce. It was an exciting time to be a Sixers fan. Only one way to communicate to team you're not happy, stay home. I get this, and this is a common thread with a lot of sports teams across a lot of platforms and sports. But most of these sports teams, if Sixers fans stop buying tickets, more people will just buy them. Like, they're never going to stop selling out that stadium, that arena. The Eagles aren't going to stop selling out their stadium, because 500 fans don't show up. There would be 500 more people lined up to get those tickets. Unless you go to a process era 10-loss or 10-win season, that stadium will always be full. You can have my wife's stop bobblehead. I would love a little stop bobblehead right there. I'll take that. I'll take that, Brett. Tonight is the Buddy Hield game. Remember, I called back-to-back corners last week. Yeah, you know what? I said it. First half of the Sixers game on Sunday wasn't what we wanted to be. In the third quarter, saw the momentum change. I'm like, you know what? Put Buddy Hield out there for 3 minutes. Tell him to take 4 shots in 3 minutes. If he knocks a couple down, great. If not, you pull him back out. Now, after sitting a game and like what's he played? We didn't play Sunday. I think he played 4 minutes in the game before. Maybe all this time on the bench, maybe something clicks. It can't hurt to throw him out there for 3-4 minutes. If he doesn't hit, then you go to campaign. Why not? Why not, guys? I don't know why people won't do that. I'm one of the founding fathers. You are. You're one of the core. You and Marshawn and a few others have been around multiple networks for me. Joshua Harris hired Bob Myers to advise him on his football team. Josh Harris hired an NBA executive to run his NFL team. And Josh Harris is a good owner? Yeah. Where at in Delco, Collingdale guy right here. I grew up in Seaking. So that's where I'm from. I went to Holy Cross. That is my background originally. But yeah, I grew up right by the Seaking train station. Imperial Pizza was within walking distance to my house. Seaking Pizza in their original location, not their current location. Exactly, Brett. Those guys wouldn't spend. Josh will spend. He just doesn't make the right moves. And sometimes the right move is spending more money. Firing somebody and eating that contract. He won't do that. The Wings is awesome. Never thought lacrosse was that intense and fun to watch. I just don't like going to an event that I don't understand. That's it. I just don't understand the sport. Guys, you are watching Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. God damn it. That's the 5th out of 6 shows I've done that. Guys, reset again. Guys, you're watching Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. I don't know what's wrong with me, guys. If I make a mistake, but make sure you're hitting that like button, that share button, that subscribe button, that follow button. Do all those things wherever you're watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. And guys, make sure you come out May 11th. Street Light Kitchen and Bar. EOP will be there in full force hosting pregame, postgame Philly shows, and giving away 2 free tickets to a Phillies game. Make sure you come out May 11th starting at 2:30. Holiday Inn and Suites at the Drexel Booker Event Center. Guys, I just confirmed it. I am going to be there as well. I might not be there the whole time. I might not be on the shows, but I will be at the bar hanging out with the EOP pre- and post-game live crew, saying hi, shaking hands, kissing babies, doing whatever it is, punching babies, whatever. I just saw that clip the other day. Laughed at that. Guys, so make sure you come on out. Streetlight Kitchen and Bar, 5400 Fern Boulevard, Drexel Hill, PA, at the Drexel Brook Event Center on May 11th, guys. Come check it out. I love to meet some of you guys in person. Would love to. And let's get back to the comments right here. Phil's wrestling finisher would be a lacrosse face chicken wing. No, the chicken wing sucks. Josh Harris fired the GM he brought in for a radical rebuild because the NBA didn't like him and pressured him. Hinkie may or may not have worked. Yeah, Brett. Nothing you said here is wrong. Nothing you said here is wrong at all. Tobias Harris. Yeah, I like that. I like that analogy, Eric. I do. I really do like that analogy. Because it's might be spot on. Harris just cares about potential, so his team makes the playoffs, keeps the fans hoping and buying, and that's what it is. You keep the fish on the hook. You keep reeling them in every single year. I usually like Nick Wright, but yeah, his comment. Oh man, I am so far behind on comments. I mentioned his name like 5 minutes ago. Buffalo Bandits lacrosse. What? Joel is with. Oh, I thought he was with New Balance. Who signed with New Balance? Somebody big just signed with New Balance, I thought. Our fan base turn on stars pretty quickly. We will do the same with Maxey. I hope not. Croce shaved his head for our first playoff win. Yeah, Croce was great. Croce was. My uncle's helped open Pat's PT company, physical therapy company. Pat is happy being a pirate in Key West. I would be happy being a pirate in Key West too. New Balance is the go-to for IT guys and grows great with. I am not an IT guy, Duck. I will tell you that. Buddy Yield. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Buddy Yield there. But give him a shot. They called for the double dip. Fred is trying to steal my glory. Guys, we all get along here. No stealing, just helping. Did anyone have as much certainty about that Tobias was going to miss that quarter at the end? Yeah, I saw the Brett, the Paul George comment earlier in the show, Brett. Look, I don't want to talk about next offseason. I'm not sure Paul George is the answer. I'm really not. But it's going to be the main target for Daryl Morey because it's the biggest name. And Daryl Morey doesn't know how to build a team. He knows how to go star hunting. James Harden. This team was supposed to be best around Embiid, not one play. Yeah, this team is not as good as we thought it was, Tim, and that's a fantastic comment. It's not as good as we thought it was. Not at all. If you're relying on Buddy, it's over. My money is on Ricky and Payne. I have no belief whatsoever that Ricky, Council, or KJ Martin sees a minute tonight at all. Nice Imperial Craven. Dude. We used to fight in my family. Friday night was pizza night in my family. My dad would take the train, from the Seacane train station to and from Philly every day for work. And on Fridays, every other Friday, because big household, big Italian house, growing up in Stelco. Half of us wanted Imperial pizza. Half of us wanted Seacane pizza. So we'd get off the train on Friday nights. Week 1, Imperial. Week 2, Seacane. Week 3, Imperial. Back and forth forever. So Imperial pizza was always my go-to. I loved it. Got to get the beach. You got to get the beach. And if you know, you know. Podcasters reading ads. What a crime. It's literally only every other show that does it. I am so far behind on comments right now. Let's get Phil drunk. No, I mean, no. I can't. I don't drink and drive unless you're paying for my Uber. I'm calling the Holy Cross priest. Is that what it is? Let's see. Priest. There was Father Roebuck, Father Birch, and Father Cahill was the head, the main guy, or the main priest there. Yeah, I remember some of those names. Commies still have an O-line issue. They get that in place. Yeah, absolutely. As long as you're not kissing hands and shaking babies. I saw that the clip from that movie with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis where they're running for office and Will Ferrell punches the baby by accident. I just saw it on my timeline the other day. It made me laugh. Daryl Morey or Tobias Harris? Honestly, I'm taking Tobias Harris over Daryl Morey, but that's because I've got an agenda. What podcaster doesn't have an agenda? Tyrese is the new. I thought it was Joel Embiid. Sorry, my bad. Marvin Harrison Jr., New Balance. Okay, that's good for him. So what is your level of confidence for the game tonight? I don't know, Adam. I really don't know. Like, I don't know how I can be confident that they're going to win. It's going to be a close game, 3, 4, 5-point game. Can somebody make the shots? I don't know. I'm not. There's zero chance I'm betting the game tonight, Adam. Zero chance. I don't care what Sean Barnard, our guest earlier, and Sean Bryce say today on the Fanatic. I don't care what any of the other gambling sites I watch say. I'm not betting the game tonight because my confidence level is not high. It's not rock bottom in the game specifically. The series it is, but rock bottom it's not. Mitchie Poo, that would be 2 crumble cookies. Yeah, exactly. Paul George isn't the answer, but 75% George is more valuable. Absolutely. I just don't know if I'm ready to give up a max contract to 34-year-old Paul George. That's it. Grew up Drexel Hill, Upper Darby. My grandma lived in Upper Darby, right by Garrett Road and forget the other intersection. Right by that food store. There was a Woolworths across the street, a little tiny food store right by the what's the concert venue there? Right there. She lived right there, within walking distance of that concert venue. Why am I drawing a blank on that? So I know Upper Darby very well as well. Key Pete's in Fishtown until it burnt down. I don't know Fishtown really that well. If it was that Harden 0, yeah. If it was that with Harden 0% tonight, we know Maxey will at least hustle throughout. Yeah, Maxey's hustle. Maxey's a star. He is. I just hope we're not rattling his confidence. You know, you could see players sometimes when they're young, when things don't go well or as expected, or when the going gets tough, that it shakes their confidence. They want to do as much as possible, and it doesn't work out. Maxey and Embiid are doing everything in their power. It's the supporting cast not doing enough from top to bottom, from Morey down to the last guy. And that could shake a young player's confidence. I hope it doesn't. Brad saying, I'm confident the Sixers could beat the Knicks tonight and advance. Brad, I love it. I love the confidence. I wish I could feel the same. I really do. I think there's a much better chance that they win tonight than they win the series. But 6-1 odds on ESPN Bet, according to Fred Burns, that the Sixers win the series. are pretty low odds considering they're down 3-1. And as Sean Barnard said, 4.7% of the time has a team down 3-1 come back in an NBA playoff series. It just doesn't. It's not likely. Tower Theater. That's right. Tower Theater near 69th Street, Garrett Avenue, right in that area. My grandma lived there. Marlboro Road. Twin homes down Marlboro Road. I remember that area. A lot of great memories until that area went to shit. I mean, it was always shit, but went really to shit. Drove by my grandma's house a couple years ago, and it looked nothing the same. That's right. Hey, dude, Brad, I don't want to shoot down your confidence, and I appreciate you tuning in today. Don't want to shoot down your confidence. I love the confidence. I just don't feel it right now. But at 7 o'clock, when I'm done tonight's show, and my Fairway to Heaven show, 6 p.m. right here on Edge of Philly Sports, talking the CJ Cup Byron Nelson Classic. When I sit down on my couch to watch tonight's game, yeah, I'm going to be hyped. I'm going to be tweeting. I'm going to be doing what I do. But right now at 9, 10 in the morning, before the game, my confidence is shook. Maybe shook. Not shot, shook. Maybe that's the right answer. Maxey has ultimate confidence. They get nothing from anyone else, including Nurse. I do not see, and I brought this up with Sean Barnard earlier in the show, Tim. I don't think Nick Nurse gets enough criticism for his coaching in this playoff series. Not giving someone else a chance. Benching Buddy Hield, but not Tobias Harris. Saying constantly he's going to put Paul Reed next to Joel Embiid. And I'm not saying anything positive about Paul Reed, but he talks a lot, Nick Nurse, but doesn't follow through with it. Yeah, I don't think Nick Nurse gets remotely enough criticism for his coaching in this playoff series that he deserves. Tyrese defers too much throughout the season. Absolutely agree. He needs to have the confidence that he is the man. No deferring. He is the man. All the teams in the NBA playoffs right now that are winning outside of the Denver Nuggets, do they run their team through a big man? No, they have great guards. And a lot of them have great big men. But they don't run their offense solely through it. They need to run their offense through Tyrese a little bit more. And I know Sean Barnard was complimenting Joel Embiid knocking down all those three-point shots. I don't want him taking 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't care if he knocks down 5. I don't want him taking that many three-point shots. What happened to big men just going down the block, getting the ball, and dominating? What happened to that? Oubre Council and a proven young wing is better investment than a 40-year-old point guard who, knowing our luck, will begin his rapid decline the moment he puts on a Sixers jersey. Yeah, basically. I get that. Our guy, Brad, is still the denial stage of grief. I respect it. I respect Brad and his not just his loyalty, his confidence. I respect it. I want to feel that, Marshawn. We have just fallen victim to the heartbreak one too many times. And I think being confident is justifiable. But I think us and our denial, our disrespect, our not confident feeling, Marshawn, I think it's justified at this point. Go Sixers, Brad. But let's get ready for our gone fish and support group. Yeah, absolutely. Nurse has never been a guy for young development, but he also doesn't adapt well during the game. Yeah, I mean, I said it from the get-go this season when he was hired, now, that he's a guy that runs a 7-man playoff rotation, and that's why you needed Joel Embiid healthy for the playoffs. And that's basically what he's doing. It's basically his 5 starters. It's Paul Reed for 4 to 6 minutes, and it's platoon off the bench, and maybe Payne or Hield. That's it. He's not going to run much of a rotation. But at some time, you've got to learn that what you're doing ain't working. I'm going to say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's Nick Nurse right now. That's Doc Rivers the last 3 years. It's Doc Rivers this year in Milwaukee. Paul Reed next to Embiid or Batum, small ball center, needs to be tried. I think they've tried Batum and Reed. I think Batum had that one playoff game where he went off for all those threes, and now he thinks that's all he could do. Batum is kind of a little annoying to me. Brad ain't a no front runner. It's okay. Not true. Nick made adjustments. Players didn't make hustle plays, unlike the Raptors. He made one adjustment. Campaign over Buddy Hield in the second half of Game 4 and for the entirety of Game 5. What other adjustments has he made? Marshawn, because I don't think he's made too many more other than that. But anyway, Sixers, 4.5-point dogs against the Knicks tonight, Madison Square Garden. I'm going to do a quick prediction here, and I'm going to say the Sixers lose tonight. Unfortunately, I don't agree with Brad. Unfortunately, I don't agree with Fred Burns. I got the Sixers losing tonight. I got the season ending. It is going to end in heartbreak, not blowout. Heartbreak again, a late shot, a late series of plays that the Knicks take a lead and don't give it back. The emotions are going to be riding high. Joel Embiid is going to say something offensive to somebody somewhere along the line after tonight's game. And we're going to see a very, very sketchy offseason for the Sixers. That's just my prediction for tonight. I'm going to say something like 98-94, Knicks win. And unfortunately, the season ends. Another season with so much promise, so much hope. The best team around Joel. Sean brought it up. It's crazy to think that this season started still with James Harden on this team. It's hard to imagine that. PG Tucker was here 6 months ago on this team. It's crazy. But here we are. This long season with so much potential, so much hype, comes crashing to a halt again tonight, in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I come on here tomorrow. Martin Frank will be joining us tomorrow at some point on the show to talk Eagles draft with him. I love Martin Frank, one of my favorite beat reporters that I follow. We will be talking more football. I'm going to briefly end the show with Nick Wright comments, and we'll pick it up tomorrow there. But yeah, I hope we're talking that I'm wrong, and I'm hoping I'm talking that we win tonight, tomorrow. But I don't see it happen. Made numerous technical adjustments, but as always, we whiny ass fans want to stop. He pulled Tobias in 2 games. We won. Yeah, 2-0 when Tobias doesn't play in the final 5. 0-3 when he does play in the final 5. Stats don't lie, right? Counsel and a steady dose of pain would have us up there. I don't know if that's the case. I'm not saying Ricky Council's the answer. I'm not saying that KJ Martin's the answer. But you should at least try it. That's my thing. At least try it. Would love Shake Milton to give us the dagger to end the season. Just have one of our own do it. Yeah. Is Shake Milton on the Knicks? Really? Sixers West at least tied the series with the Mavs. Yeah, I guess. I'm going to go 95-93 Sixers. Love the confidence there. Bro, I got a 15-20 point loss and beat as a vintage and just Bobby Knight like meltdown. The fans overreact as Morey starts his over 40 roster rebuild. Yeah, I can see that playing out that way as well. This year, Kelly hit by a car and then wrecked his car. Batum's wife didn't want to come to Philly. Pat Bev podcast, Maxey. Yeah, man, just think of all this. Think of all the things that have gone. This is just 10% of what happened this season. I love it. That's my parlay. Can you parlay a Joel Embiid verbal meltdown, emotional meltdown? Is there a sports book that will take that as a bet? Because I love it. I would definitely put some money on that. Lewis Williams engineered the comeback for the Hawks against us in Game 5 at home. Happened before. Wouldn't surprise me if I didn't even know Shake Milton was on the Knicks. I ain't gonna lie. Maybe that makes me a terrible fan. Had no clue. Just gonna say. Had no clue he was on the Knicks. Guys, I want to show 2 quick graphics here up on the screen. Well, a couple quick graphics up on the screen. Philly Press Box Radio here on Edge Philly Sports is celebrating their 10th anniversary this Wednesday at 7 p.m. right here on Edge of Philly. Bill Furman, Chet Chesko, 10-year anniversary. Fantastic guest. Ray Didinger, the godfather of Philly Sports, will be on their show. Make sure you check it out. Can't wait to hear what Ray Diddy has to say about the NFL draft, about the Eagles draft, about the Eagles offseason. And congratulations to Chet and Bill for 10 years. I can't imagine doing this for 6 more years. Congratulations. Maybe Ray. I got my Eagles encyclopedia from Ray Didinger autographed right behind me there. One of my favorite things I own right there. And also, new show coming to Edge of Philly Sports. Football Stories Live. Al Thomson, Matt Santarelli. I think I said that correctly. Starting Thursday, May 1st, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. If you don't know, Philly Sports Football Stories Magazine is a free magazine found in most Wawas, officially run by Brian Baldinger. He's got articles. Paul Dominic's got articles. Dave Spadero's got articles in the magazine. and their podcast, Football Stories Live, is now part of the Edge of Philly family. Make sure you check them out and all the shows on Edge of Philly Sports. Tonight, 6 p.m., Jason and I are back. Fairway to Heaven, talking this week's CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, whatever you want to call it, from TPC Craig Ranch. I will be live at 6 p.m., but check out all the great shows on Edge of Philly Sports. We got 10 minutes left in the show. Phil's a front-runner fan. I am a front-runner fan. Of course I am. Sixers have at least two problems. They have an underperforming bench. Why are they underperforming here? They need a good backup for Embiid. Sean Barnard dropped a key piece of nugget on the Paul Reed situation that I didn't even know happened. That if they didn't get out of the first round of the playoffs, that his contract is voidable if they won at the end of the season. Everyone keeps talking about the bad contracts Paul Reed signed, and it was a terrible contract. But if they can get out of it when they lose this round, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I wish. I put my tip jar, my Venmo, linked in the description if anybody wants to send me a super chat, a tip, a bonus, anything. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's there because super chats are off on EOP right now. No Diddy, no Ray Dinger, not a Dinger fan. You trade Embiid, everyone would be happy and excited for the rebuild. No, that's the thing. Like, you trade Embiid, what do you get for him? You're not going to get players on his level. Draft picks may work out, might not work out. We're going to talk to Embiid and what to do with him as soon as the season ends. And if it ends tonight, tomorrow will be some football talk with Martin Frank, but we'll get into it tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week what happens. But it's crazy. Like, I don't see a positive from trading Joel, but I also, again, what did I say about Daryl Morey? Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. We keep going in with Joel Embiid every year and not putting a proper team on the court around him. Same results are going to happen year in and year out. I am at Wawa at least 4 times a week, and I didn't see that It says most Wawas. Football Stories magazine. It's run by Brian Baldinger. It's his official magazine. I don't know which ones they're at, but they, check them out on Thursday. Ask them in the comments of the show on Thursday what Wawas they can get the magazine at. Paul Reed contract not guaranteed no more after this summer. According to Sean Barnard, and I trust Sean Barnard, great guest of this show regularly, said that if we don't get out of the first round, it's not guaranteed after this season. So there's not only could we lose Tobias Harris, but we also could lose Paul Reed after tonight. 2 positives could come from that 1 negative. Just saying. Unless you were reading for Wemby last year, I don't see a player. Yeah, I think we did that. We talked about trading Joel for the first pick to get Wemby. I think we talked about this on the show last year during the draft. I think we did that. I'm not sure. Would it be another process if they traded? Yeah, and it would definitely. You're going to collapse again to nothing because you're going to get 4 or 5 first-round draft picks, some flips, some picks, and I don't know. Look at last night, for example. Jokic, third option, dropped 26 and 20. 26 and 20. I'll get the exact distribution. Thank you, Big Al. Big Al will let us know because I'll be promoting that Football Stories again tomorrow, and their show debuting on Thursday throughout this week. Danny Ainge put that guarantee in Reed's contract as a poison pill. So thanks, Dan. Yeah, got it. Guys, real quick, 5 minutes left in the show. I want to bring up something, and we'll lead into this tomorrow as well because I didn't expect to cover the Sixers for almost the full 90 minutes today, but I saw a video from this fantastic national media guy named Nick Wright. He's one of the best of all time. Saying and doing a segment and talking about Howie Roseman and the NFL draft. And that Howie Roseman does not deserve credit for any of his drafts. Howie Roseman is not as good of a drafter as we're making it out to be. Howie Roseman only does one thing. Basically, I am summarizing what Nick Wright said in what I feel is what he was hinting at. Nick Wright said that Howie Roseman panders to the fans by selecting national media's big board people only. That we all hype up Howie Roseman's drafts and off seasons because he does what the other people, Nick Wright, Skip Bayless, Dan Simpleton, Chris Simpleton, all those national guys, they have their big boards and Howie drafts off their big boards and solely based off that. Howie Roseman does not scout a single player, period. Howie Roseman does not make a decision on what he thinks or his scouts thinks are right. He makes decisions during the draft solely based off of the big boards of Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper and Nick Wright. That is all he does. And I think it's one of the most asinine, dumb statements I have ever heard from a media member. To literally think that they do nothing. That Howie Roseman doesn't do any of the work. He just watches a couple podcasts, and that's how he makes his decisions on the draft. I know that's how I do my mock drafts because I'm not a college football expert. I'm not a scouting expert. But to think Howie Roseman only makes his decisions based off of watching a couple videos is, I can't wrap my head around how this guy and his co-hosts or anchors thought it was an accurate statement is insane to me. Insane. I would trade Embiid not because it's his fault, but because we don't deserve him. That's an interesting point. And bring this up, Eric, after the season ends and when we were talking about to trade or not to trade. I think that's a very fair comment. Duck, muchas gracias. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I wasn't begging or pandering for it. Just want to let people know because I know some people do like to do that from time to time, and there's something wrong with the super chat with EOP, so I can't do it there. So I'm putting my Venmo in the links down below for that. I couldn't bring myself to waste another second of his prime. We're going to talk about that. Wright doesn't know Eagles drafting history at all. Obviously. Because he has made a lot of sketchy picks over the years. Howie Roseman as well. I don't though. Maury stays for a rebuild, so Phil's happy. Yeah. I don't trust him with all the assets for this offseason, though. Wright was all over Nolan Smith falling last year and hoping the Chiefs, one of his other front-running teams, to pick him. He's not a football guy. He's the new statement of, yeah. Dude, I don't watch him. I don't watch his show ever. I see clips from him on social media, Tim, but it's just the most asinine statement. And he brought up Nolan Smith in the statement. So, he fell to 30 and everybody hyped it because everybody had him in their top. No. Howie wrote, how can you be a national guy, a major media guy, and then going out there and saying that Howie Roseman, the GM of the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the best GMs in football, top 3 right now in the game, only pays attention to what idiotic media members say and content creators say. Man, Howie Roseman must be following all the mock drafts I did because I had Cooper DeJean to the Eagles in a lot of them. It must be the case. It's the most asinine thing I've ever heard. And we're going to talk about this a lot more tomorrow because we're just about out of time today. Howie makes one joke about Jeremiah. I know. One joke. Howie Roseman showed early in his career, pre-Chip Kelly taking over, minimal personality. Post getting the job back from Chip Kelly, minimal personality. Over the last 5 years, Howie Roseman has started to show more personality, more self-confidence in what he does. And he makes more jokes and he laughs. You see him talking at the podium. And when someone asks a question or an answer and he leans over to Nick Sirianni and makes a little inside joke. Howie Roseman's showing more personality. Makes a Daniel Jeremiah joke, and all of a sudden, he has no clue what he's doing as a GM. He's just paying attention. It's stupid. The first 2 draft picks are nationally accepted first draft picks. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The Bears must not have paid attention to anything or scouted anything because they listened to all the content creators out there that said Caleb Williams will be the number 1 pick, and that is why they chose Caleb Williams. Not because they think he's going to anchor their franchise for the next 10 years, but because the content creators said it. Stupid. Howie Roseman shouldn't be allowed to make any of his decisions on draft night until the 5th round. Look, I think Howie Roseman's an excellent drafter, honestly, especially in the last 3 to 4 years. Excellent. I don't trust you to. I appreciate that, Duck. I do greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much, Joe. Yeah, enjoy the lost night. Thanks. We'll be here crying tomorrow about it tomorrow, Joe. Don't worry about that. Yeah. Yo, Nick Wright's theory is proven wrong with Jalen Reagor. It's proven wrong with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. It's proven wrong countless times in the past. But it just goes back to that, saying crazy shit about Philly pisses Philly off, which brings in more clicks. And we fell for it again. Nick Wright is an idiot. He don't know anything. Yeah, he's the new Skip Bayless. His Nolan Smith tweets are in the receipts. People are showing. Ray's a moron. Yeah, exactly. Nolan Smith was again agreed upon to be a first-round talent. And yeah, exactly. I'm still hyped about Nolan Smith. There's a lot of people that don't like Nolan Smith and feel like I'm still hyped about Nolan Smith. I still think Nolan Smith is going to be an excellent player. Elite, I don't know. Is he going to fill in exactly what we need this year? I'm not sure if he's ready. But I still think Nolan Smith is going to be, at best, a solid edge rusher in the NFL. I think Nolan Smith still has potential to get double-digit stats. Maybe not every year, but sometimes. I do. A lot of Bears fans are pissed about trading away their quarterback. Yeah. Great show. Thank you very much, Adam. Muchas gracias. I'll see you soon at Fox's. They should have invested in the O-line and kept Fields. They actually should have. I agree with that, and I'm not a Caleb Williams guy, but that's that. Guys, we got to start the wrap-up process here. Trending in the AM. Right here on Edge of Philly Sports. Got it right that time. Make sure you're locked in. Jam-packed. Tuesday nights is always one of the busiest nights here on EOP. Next up, 6 p.m., my show, Fairway to Heaven. We got the Kelly Green Hour, Burns of the Round Table, Chalk Talk, Sixers and Phillies post-game shows. That is literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's about 10 hours of programming right here on Edge of Philly Sports. So if you're not subscribed or following on any of the social media platforms, make sure you do that. I saw Mitchie Pooh's comment early in the show. We have, in the last 3 days, passed 13,000 subscribers on YouTube. Let's keep that number going up. Let's make sure we're telling everyone when you go to Wawa to get your Philly Football Stories magazine from the Football Stories live crew. Let them know. Let somebody know at Wawa. Tune into Edge of Philly Sports. Tune into Trending in the AM. The #1 morning show in Philadelphia right here. I'm Phil Stiefel, as always. And for Edge of Philly Sports, have a great day. I will see you tonight live, 6 p.m., right back on this very channel, guys. Have a good one. And as always, it's not Go Sixers, even though it's Game 5 tonight. It's not Go Sixers. Very simply, it's Go Birds.